opposing the government and opposing the Conservatives. I'm afraid it's the hard left who want to tighten their control. They want to sideline moderate voices. I don't think anybody should be surprised about that is the nature of the hard left. And of course, we know that the hard left famously cannot tolerate any dissent.
Who are the hard left, Chris?
Well, we know who the hard left are, who associate with the hard left. You just said that we were all too right-wing. The hard left agenda, printing money, nationalisation without compensation, that sort of hard left-wing position. Hard left, the 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 hard left, hard left, hard left, the hard left, the hard left, hard left, the hard left, hard left, hard left, hard left, hard left, the hard left, left, the hard left, the hard left, hard left, hard left, the hard left, left, the hard left, left, the hard left, the hard left, hard left, the hard left, hard left, the hard left, left.
How's it going, man?
It's going well, it's going well. I'm just trying to sort out all these bloody windows.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of fucking windows, man. It's like in the spirits of your great northern forefather George Formby with his song about cleaning windows.
Yeah, when he is cleaning windows.
Exactly.
Classic. Although he's from Lancashire, to be fair, he's not my forefather.
Yeah, is there
in northern culture, but like
territorial feud?
It still extends to just like there is a north. Like
yeah, I know the north. There's like Wales, Scotland.
Yeah, the Middleborough.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we start going, do we have much of a specific plan today? I know we're obviously going to talk about the farmer protests and stuff.
No, that's basically all I've got. Yeah. We can talk, you know, there's some other stuff we can talk about, like how we've got to go and fight for Israel now.
Yeah, I just sent that in.
Yeah.
For the news we were all waiting for, the best news.
Brits will have to die defending Israel. When that's the headline, you know.
Is that not what we've all been saying we do all along? Yam Israel Lahaim. You lived in Middlesbrough for quite a while, yeah.
Yeah, my whole mum's side of the family comes from up that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an argument
obviously
on Twitter
not much
right
of an
now
accent
about Middlesbrough. They're all arguing on Dave's post saying that it's not Yorkshire, saying it's Teesside.
What's your opinion on the matter?
Middlesbrough is Yorkshire.
It is Yorkshire.
Yeah, it used to be considered like North Yorkshire, right? And then it kind of they redrew the boundaries.
Yeah, they steal more and more.
I told you guys
Yorkshire imperialism.
I told you guys you were going to get on. I think this is good. We're getting into a very farmery mindset here.
Yeah.
Like who controls what land, blah blah blah. Sorry, I need to get into this zone. I've been fucking very lethargic and out of it. But when you're fucking down about life and shit, like what do? You go and get a breath of that country air. You go and take in some rural sights and sounds, and you go down on the farm and become one with nature. You embrace a new lifestyle, a new set of values, if you will, a new set of political beliefs, and I hear you can sometimes get good tax breaks out of it.
Yeah,
purely like coincidental. That's not why anyone does it. That's just a coincidence, really. You know,
it's the rich culture,
a happy side effect. Yeah.
The vibrant culture.
Yeah.
Do you remember
part of the
Sadiq
land,
Khan
you
one?
know?
All Calvin Robinson and Lawrence Fox were talking about leaving London and going to the green pastures of the rural countryside, where they're finally unburdened by work. And I would love to know where they moved.
Consent laws out there. I assume it's different.
They're all
like
going to decamp to the Isle
waters.
of Man. They haven't got the age of consent laws they want, but like it's illegal to be gay. And
yeah. So let's introduce our guest. We wanted somebody who lives and breathes agriculture the way that we do, and maybe frequently breathes in agriculture the way me and Yair do, possibly. I think it's fair to say. It's someone who I think is like a really nice dude and not at all anti-Semitic. It's our good friend EYUP Lovely.
Thank you. Someone had to say it. I'm glad to be here.
I mean,
it's
it would
been a
be
long
better
time
if
coming.
it was Yair saying it, but like I say, I'm making the introduction now for
Yeah.
you guys, so now you can become best friends.
Well, let's put it on the record. Yeah, do you think I'm anti-Semitic?
No, of course not.
Case closed.
In the
we
6 minutes, that's at least how much I've been recording. I think that Yair has got a pretty good impression of your character.
I've also read a couple dozen of his tweets, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, these
I'm
are
a friend to
highly-
all people.
Yeah, these are highly controversial tweets that have made waves. Have really kind of captured the zeitgeist, if you will.
The charges of bigotry are spurious.
The Yair Rice presidential campaign launch just sank without a trace. I thought our platform was really good. It was going to be sort of anti-woke but pro-Chinese.
The problem is that you're an audio product. Yair would suit the visual medium because of his big muscles.
Yeah, you're pretty jacked now, aren't you, Yair?
I am.
It's pretty cool.
I love it. What can I say?
I've
got Hassan to thank for that one, honestly.
We need to use this to further infiltrate the world of pro wrestling. You need to get some training, Yair.
Yair is the only person to consume online left-wing content and become physically healthier.
Right.
I'm trying to think of other exceptions, but yeah, I think it is just Yair out of everyone.
Yeah, people listening to our podcast like, oh damn, I guess weed's really healthy.
Well, Tom Watson's not looking bad.
He is again now. That's the beautiful thing.
I think he looks well fed.
Yeah.
It's
not
quite a
his fault,
funny
he's got
bit
big
to lose a
bones.
load of weight, do a round of interviews, put out a book about it was great you lost
Two
loads of
books.
weight.
Two
Two
books.
Sorry, yeah.
Two
I
books.
see to the Watson expert here, but like yeah,
Novice numbers next to Jess Phillips.
2 books about how great it is he's lost weight and how you can do it too by following his easy steps. And then as soon as he got the full advance paid up for it, he just like take away every night. It's probably the most relatable thing he's ever done.
Fucking shrimp at the Ritz.
Getting an order in for like literally everyone at the Drench concert, upwards of 10 people.
In terms
The
of
worst
shame,
part is that
Okay.
in the second book's cover, he's already gaining weight. You can see it in the picture.
They've signed a 2-book deal and they're like, fuck it, it's a contractual obligation book, no one's going to buy it anyway.
Tom Watson and the Chamber of Wanking. Book 2 in the Timeless series.
I wonder if he has been contracted for another, and he just hasn't got it in.
Well, you could write about all sorts of things. Like, I'm sure there's a
He's
certain audience
carved out
of
a niche
morons.
now.
I'm sure there's some people who, if he just like wrote a book about how Corbyn's evil, they'd be like, "This is a fearless tell-all." This is like he's a whistleblower.
The Mosley family money tap got turned off when Max Mosley died, so he needs to get an income from somewhere. A secondary income, obviously he's got the one from the gambling industry, and the one from the Lords.
And the one from
Yeah, so he's
Mossad.
actually come to think of it, he's actually doing all right. Who the fuck needs Max Mosley, that dead Nazi bitch?
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of shamelessly grifting people out of their money, individual episodes of the Real Politik podcast are now available on the Patreon for prices ranging from $3 to $5,000.
Worth every penny, I'm sure.
Okay, all but one of them are for $3.
A more serious reminder that you can pay us £4.50 a month and get every episode. Which is
I'm gonna be real with you guys. It is forget the $5,000 one. It is a fucking stupid investment to pay $3 for one episode when you could pay $5 and get all our shit on Patreon, which is loads of shit. So I'm just gonna tell you now. Do not do this thing that you can do that I just advertised to you. You can now do.
You were just very bored that afternoon to go and set the prices on them.
Yeah, it's like this new thing that they give you the option of, and it's just it's annoying. You've got a load to fill in a load of bullshit now when you put something on Patreon to like put it in the RSS feed for podcasts, and it's just like it's just another thing to click. And $3 is literally the lowest price you can do. I wanted to do it for like $1.50, but apparently no, you've got to exploit people a little bit more than that. So, like I say, Do the full $5.
I mean, I watch a lot of Loose Women on YouTube because I feel like it's putting your finger in the air and you get to see which way the wind's blowing. And there's a clip on there where they ask, they have like buttons for all of the audience, press yes or no, and they ask them, should Shamima Begum be made stateless? Or maybe it's the inverse of that question. Either way, upwards of 90% of the audience say yes, just fuck.
Yeah.
And it's not even like the Loose Women weren't a monolith on the issue either. And the Loose Women are not good people, but they were talking at least somewhat, and they have
Welcome
since.
Welcome to Britanology.
Yeah, that's a sentence that's going to sound absolutely incredible to any American listeners we've picked up.
They've seen the view or the voice or whatever the fuck. They can understand Loose Women as a concept, I think.
The Loose Women are
EYUP Lovely coming out.
You're talking about
2025
sluts,
Does Matty Healy follow you, EYUP Lovely? Isn't he like the son of one of the Loose Women?
Yeah, he is. I've said before, I went to a music festival just after the Manchester bombing in Manchester, and I was spewing my guts up outside a tent, and I could see the main stage, and he's there, Matty Healy, with his arm around Andy Burnham, and they're crying. And it was the worst experience of my life.
You're not a Burnham fan? You don't think he typifies the real northern spirit? What was his? He said his favourite biscuit was curry and chips or something.
No, I can't stand him. I really can't stand him. And the fact that he tried to rebrand, isn't he the first health minister to privatise a hospital?
Yeah, I think so. yeah. And he kind of inched a bit left to try and be.
And all he does is just look northern and sad. Oh, I'm northern and sad about this. I'm colloquial and northern and sad about this.
It's like,
fucking leave the fucking party then.
His big sad puppy eyes, like how the NAFO guys are like big cool dog. He's like the little dog in the meme, the little sad dog.
Yeah, he is a sad dog.
He's a sad, pathetic dog. I'm not going to say what should be done to the sad dog.
He's fucked it as well, though, Burnham, because he's not an MP, and it doesn't look like he'll have the chance until 2029. But sailed, and I see him on Twitter replying to people saying, "Oh, Andy, you need to run for leader," and he says, "Well, I tried." You tried, and you got fucking stomped.
Yeah,
because nobody actually likes you.
Yeah, they're saying don't run for leader against Jeremy Corbyn.
He was both times he fucked it by being too right wing.
Yeah, because he's just a ghoul. He's just some fucking brown-eyed ghoul, like the rest of them. And anyone who thinks that Andy Burnham is going to save them, dear Lord, you are in for a fucking surprise. I can't
only recently people have stopped saying that sort of thing about fucking Angela Rayner.
Dear God. I seen someone
to the left of Starmer. People will be like,
"Was it Michael Crick?" Michael Crick.
Speaking of dogs,
Michael Crick was saying about John Prescott.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just saying. Michael Crick was saying about John Prescott that he wouldn't have become a Labour MP today because trade unionist, Northern, and it's got a fucking bajillion likes. Someone quote tweeting saying, "Have you seen who's the Deputy Prime Minister?"
Yeah, it was that fucking idiot, the artist.
What do you think is going on?
The artist formerly known as Milk Gapes. Like back when I was Gapesology on Twitter, we were mutuals for a bit, and then she unfollowed me, and in the time before that happened, it became rapidly apparent to me that she actually liked Mike Gapes and agreed with his politics. Yeah, she's just very right wing, that person. I disagree with John Prescott on a lot of stuff, like voting for the Iraq War. But he has gone up in my estimation since I found out the guy he punched was Welsh.
Yeah. Although John Prescott was born in Wales, so he's also Welsh.
Welsh on Welsh violence, even better.
Yeah.
Jack hates football, but he buys a ticket to Cardiff Swansea every single year in the hope someone will get literally chased into the sea again. Which happens
it's like the people and lions in the Colosseum. I hate lions just as much as I hate my fellow man. So it's just great to see those motherfuckers duking it out, or whatever the expression is. So should we talk about farming? Should we talk about fucking agriculture?
Fellow football fans.
This is agriculture. EYUP, you also were familiar with that song "We Are Farmers" by Three Loco, who
yes,
they're sort of a kind of comedy white rap.
Yeah, Andy Milonakis,
Dirt Nasty, yeah,
and
Beardo. Was Beardo one of?
Diplo's on the song, but is he in Three Loco?
Is Diplo the guy who does he do Major Lazer?
Yeah,
he's responsible for some of the worst music I've ever heard. Diplo, some
he's the modern UB40 with the Major Lazer.
Yeah, so that song was like popular on, what do you say? Was it on COD or like World of Warcraft or?
Oh yes. We Are Farmers. Yeah, it was a thing on World of Warcraft. Maybe fucking 10, 12 years ago. Because you farm people, don't you? You beat them sequentially and repeatedly, such as to farm them. As if they are a resource. Yeah, agricultural indeed. Well, I'm telling you, I'm not asking you anything.
You framed it as a rhetorical question. So.
Well, this is a one-way street, this discussion. But the guy who popularised that song, I believe, killed himself on World of Warcraft. The streamer Reckful killed himself.
Sorry, did he kill himself on World of Warcraft, or did he kill himself?
No, he killed himself in real life.
I've killed myself on World of Warcraft many times.
That is exactly what I was wondering. Yeah.
No doubt, he would have been one of these, like Destiny from StarCraft. He would have been one of these political reactionary streamers who talks about
political gurus, highly influential.
And it's just them on Twitch, and they're in the bedroom, and they're just talking about how we should legalise noncing, and you're supposed to take them seriously. But nonetheless, I guess rest in peace.
Yeah. So what? He killed himself while he was on stream.
I don't think while he was on stream. Although I think
that would have made the news properly, like surely.
Honestly, I'm surprised you never heard about him. It was a big thing. He was quite a big streamer. There was I seem to recall there being
his name or handle, sir?
Reckful.
Oh right, yeah. American Israeli, right? Okay.
American Israeli.
This
guy, man.
Yes, yeah.
I didn't know that.
His career, see where you'd normally have an actor in like the bar where it's like born, died, years active, and so on. It would list their sort of top films or like top teams they played for. His just has like games, World of Warcraft, Asheron's Call.
So did he make a game?
No one who that is their CV should have a 2,000-word Wikipedia article, really.
Yeah, he was shite at it as well, but he could type really fast. That was one of his things. He would go on Type Racer, and he would type really fast. I guess he probably learned how to do that in the IDF.
Damn, he sounds almost as smart as Destiny. But let's fucking...
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's a genre of person who graduates from some subpar Blizzard game in the 2010s to just talking shit on Twitch in the bedroom. Usually these people are millionaires, but they live in squalor. And it's...
Like Asmongold, yeah.
Yes, indeed. And the natural end point for all of that is just... They always end up advocating paedophilia, no matter what.
Yeah. But the nice thing about farming on Warcraft is at least Keir Starmer can't, tax you out of it, right?
Hey! That's such a good segue out here. I'm so proud of you about that, rocks, man. So the fucking Starmers, the fucking farmers, I mean, tonight... tonight, introducing the episode 45 minutes in. Tonight we will finally get to the bottom of what all these fucking yokels are so pissed off about. So, what is going on with this farmer bullshit? I asked my very right-wing friend to explain it to me earlier, but I'll be honest, a lot of it went in one ear and out the other. It was stuff about tax and money and numbers, and it was just all Greek to me, you know what I mean? But yeah, welcome to Farmer Podcast. This is a farm podcast, Bob.
Fucking hell, man.
What accent was that? Was that Irish?
West country accent.
West
No,
Coast.
that sounds like Van Morrison. Fuck.
No way.
I've just been out milking the cows. The cows are very, very milky this time of year in West Ilford. What about a Welsh farmer? I'm a Welsh farmer. I farm sheep and milk.
As long as you only farm them.
Yeah, because the Welsh always do be doing that.
I expect it from Jack,
Jack
but Yair, I'm disappointed in you.
Hey, he's saying Welsh shag sheep.
I'm letting that reactionary dog into me, you know.
It'd be a cool reactionary dog like Israel and India.
Alright, so it's terrible when it's sheep, but it's fine when it's dogs, right? Okay, interesting.
Lord Austin, guru, highly influential, whatever. I'm a farmer from farmland, and I'm really pissed off about the new Jaguar advert.
It sounds so Irish.
Look, my new record is out now. Latest record project. Yeah, it does sound really Irish. Check out my new single.
Sound like Jerry Adams.
They own the media. They refers to, for the avoidance of doubt, they, in quotation marks, refers to Keir Starmer's (brackets) Labour government.
His Jewish Labour government.
Well, that was the subtext. Some of us still believe in, a bit of nuance, a bit of subtlety.
No, there's probably not even many Jews in that government, to be honest.
I don't think there are, yeah. Come on, let's do some more fucking anti-Starmer Israel red meat in a little bit, but first let's do the farmer stuff. Let's get deep into the farmer stuff. I'll introduce the show again. Welcome to the welcome to the Politics Joe podcast. Love podcast.
What he's not telling you, Ab, is he's going to cut this up into like 4 different episodes and be like, he's going to
take it.
He's going to do a bad Yorkshire accent and be like, "We're delighted to have EYUP Lovely on again for a 3rd episode. He loves us so much."
So, okay, the new.
By gum.
EYUP Lovely is Welsh. You may have forgotten. Oh, hello, I'm EYUP Lovely. I've got in my notes here, Welsh guy punched farmer? ? I've no idea what that refers to.
You've Lionel Hutz dies. Welsh guy punched? ? Farmer. The guy who got punched by John Prescott was Welsh.
Oh yeah, that was actually it.
I can literally pass your notes better than you can.
That was totally what I meant. Yeah. No, what I was gonna say, what if a Welsh guy who Prescott punched was a farmer? But I wrote that down.
He was a farmer.
Oh, he was a farmer.
He was a farmer.
That's what it says in your notes.
A very similar protest to the one that
you wrote this down in your notes.
Well, I'm glad
you wrote Welsh farmer.
I'm glad
in your own notes.
I'm glad I got my fact checking
check
unit
it?
here.
No, I'll just say it, and if Geraint shouts at me, then he is a farmer.
Concrete facts. I've got my live fact checking done. See, this is why you come prepared with my little earpiece where I'm getting my shit verified for me as I say it.
All right, Jonathan Pye.
Anyway, I'm a bit torn on this farm stuff because it's like they all seem to hate Starmer, and that's kind of like my main thing.
That is cool.
That's like my.
We need to lay down immediately what this farm stuff is. It's a tax. It's a inheritance tax of 20%, I think. Am I correct?
Yeah, something like that.
Properties over 2-3 million, something like that.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of hubbub about it, largely because they are conflating the massive gilded gentry landowners in this country who would be affected by it with people who have a pig in the back garden.
Yeah.
Isn't it true that like farmers keep killing themselves over it?
Well, apparently one. Right. Well, the guy on LBC said that he knows multiple. The guy on LBC said that he knows multiple. There is one reported in the right-wing press that has ostensibly been verified. Initially, it was just like a copy-paste text thing that all the boomers were sending round, like, "Oh, my daddy couldn't handle it. You know, he decided it were enough." But
But
realistically,
wait, if it's an inheritance tax and you kill yourself, isn't that kind of hurting yourself?
I think the idea is that they are circumventing it.
At the very least.
It hasn't yet been implemented, so they would kill themselves such as to not pay it because it hasn't yet. I think it takes in effect in April, possibly. Obviously, multiple farmers have not killed themselves. That is not the case. And to be honest, I would doubt that one guy killed himself because of this. Because who kills themselves? Because a fiscal policy was announced 2 weeks ago. It doesn't even go into effect. You just fuck it. Fuck this. You know, the fucking Labour budget, I might as well just kill myself. Nobody thinks like this.
If there really was like 15 farmers who'd killed themselves over it, then we should really consider letting them be like the only people in Britain who have guns. But it seems like we may not have to get to that stage just yet. Let the farmers have their guns for the time being, I guess.
Yeah, until such a time as Starmer is out of office.
Starmer wants to take away our farmers' guns. Like,
but it's
stop that.
It's a wider. It's a wider racist Trojan horse, isn't it? In the Netherlands and other European countries, they're talking about farmers. They mean whites. They mean white people. I had a guy in my replies the other day saying that Starmer is committing white genocide.
That's fully on the up and up there. Dangerous connotations with like white farmers there.
It's so funny because like Starmer committing white genocide is like you're just one word away from the truth. If you just drop the white, then you're actually making an accurate statement.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about his farming policies, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, they seem really pissed off about, like... Alright, the way my friend with the right-wing politics tried to put it to me was that... No, come on, let's hear the other guy's views. This is a bipartisan podcast in the spirit of South Park and, like, I don't know, Clint Eastwood or whatever. It's just, like... So...
EYUP can speak for himself, he's right here.
So like, there's, so... hang on, this is difficult for me, alright? This is not... fucking explaining tax policy is not my forte. But what he was saying was just like... The fucking... the farms are becoming worth like £14 million, but that's just the value of the property. They never actually make that money, so they don't have the money to pay the tax.
Well, then sell the farm.
Yeah, that's... So I was just like... so aren't loads of like the farmers' kids just going to sell these farms for a massive amount of money?
Yeah, of course.
Millions
Fuck that. No one wants to be a farmer.
It's not like the farm stops existing just because, it changes hands.
But these are landowners as well, and they're not the people that are shoveling the shit. You know, they're not the people that are milking the cows. And the right wing do have a point. The right wing do have a point insofar as there's a paranoia that is justified in a way
that... Is it a point that Keir Starmer's a massive cunt?
Yeah. Yes. Well, it comes under that umbrella. They're worried that if they have to sell their farmland, and maybe this is not the real reason that they are worried, but they are worried that the farmland will all be bought up by Bill Gates or BlackRock or whoever else.
That is literally what my mate told me, actually. Yeah, that is true.
There is some salience to that point. You know, Keir tweeted the other day, tagged in BlackRock. Yeah. It's like they're either just grossly incompetent doing that or they are deliberately trying to provoke. You might as well have just fucking tagged in the World Economic Forum, fucking...
Klaus Schwab.
Klaus Schwab. It's set off all those exact people. I can't think of a worse time to specifically talk about fixing Britain using BlackRock.
Yeah, he's playing with fire there, isn't he? When all he was trying to do was just advertise the country's assets to the highest bidder. It's perfectly decent.
And they shouldn't be allowed to fucking buy all this farmland, of course. But there are a lot of foreign landowners in Britain. There are a lot of foreign landowners in Britain, and if anything, they are just completely kowtowing to them in every regard, constantly, if not invited directly to Downing Street to shake Keir Starmer's hand and be photographed on his page. He likes it. He likes to be associated with, like you said earlier, Zaslav. Why on earth would Keir Starmer want to... What? Who knows who Zaslav is from the electorate?
Yeah.
It's a signal to other people that he's okay. He's good.
Yeah.
He's one of the boys. He will gladly do anything you want for a little bit of cheddar.
Yeah, incidentally, the name of another one of my right-wing friends in Surrey, Cheddar. He actually enjoys the podcast. No, you're
confirming our haters' views one at a time.
Fine fella.
You're absolutely right. But yeah, Starmer wants to signal to like the Davos crowd, where he does go every year. It's like none of his shit is an exaggeration. He wants to signal
and they previously had this exact issue with Davos when Rachel Reeves was going to Davos and producing these little social media clips, and you don't see that from other politicians in the world. They are at least reserved, more ashamed. They are more conscious of the response. But the Labour cabinet, they really desperately want to be seen as effectively just the New World Order. They want to be seen as the Illuminati, is what they want to be seen. And they don't care about all the connotations of that. They just want to be seen as powerful.
It's just like we've taken down the painting of Churchill and we've replaced it with a giant owl effigy that will only be there for the next week and will promptly be replaced. You got to keep draining the life from the owl. But no, obviously, at the same time with Starmer, I do think he probably likes what David Zaslav has done to cinema. A man who has no favourite anything. A man who has no favourite film. Who somewhere along the line, probably about 10 years ago, one of his aides said, "Oh, have you heard of Orange Juice? They were around when you were young." And he's like, "That's the band that I'm going to mention forever. That's the one band I'm going to pretend to like." You know, but I don't think he has a favourite film, so he probably loves the Marvelisation
I don't think I've ever read or heard any comments from him about any film.
He can't sit in front of it. He just wants to have a wank or something. He's just like looking off at the interns. He's like, "Come on, I can't sit here this long without putting it in."
When someone asked him previously about like his favourite book, and he's like, "I don't."
That's what I was going to say.
There's loads of previous interviews where he's given consistently like
Franz Kafka, The Trial. Franz Kafka, The Trial. But like, the quote specifically. When he was chief prosecutor, he was telling everyone who would lend an ear that his favourite book was Franz Kafka, The Trial. In The Guardian, one person is quoted as saying, "Keir said to me," or maybe they told Keir to read it, and Keir responded saying, "I can recite it backwards." But his more recent
spooky,
responses...
He probably does talk backwards. It's like a satanic... He's speaking tongues. He's detailing what he's going to do to you.
Since 2020, he has said, effectively... He's oscillated between he doesn't have a favourite book and just naming some absolute shite. Just something like you'd see a grandma reading on an airplane, you know, about a woman in a lighthouse. And he says he hasn't finished it yet, but he likes it. And he doesn't have a favourite anything else.
He's going to come for the hard-working British lighthouse keepers next. They're next on his fucking list. Sell the lighthouses.
They're going to have to pay inheritance tax on their lighthouses.
Can we find that interview where he talks about reciting Kafka backwards and get Jack to share it with all his many, many right-wing friends?
It's like that. Come on, I don't have that many friends.
Keir Starmer admits to speaking in tongues about weird foreign author.
yeah, they'll spread it round.
I've got the exact passage here is, I think it's 2000. When did he become chief prosecutor? It must be 2009, I think. He says, "At the moment, there is another priority in his life. His first child was born a month ago." At the moment, there is another priority in his life. His first child was born a month ago. His wife, Victoria, is a solicitor who currently mentors deprived children. He is getting rather boring about nappy changing, said Miller. I gave him a copy of Kafka's The Trial today.
No.
I gave him a copy of Kafka's The Trial today and said he should read it every year. He says he already knows it backwards.
Ooh, backwards and Twin Peaks voice in here saying some creepy shit.
This year, I think, before the election, he was asked, what was the last book you read? He said, "I'm reading a book by Melissa Bailey at the moment called Beyond the Sea, which is an intriguing book, so I'm in the middle of that. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm halfway through."
That is definitely not read whatever the fuck that book is.
Yeah, has he fuck?
It's an intriguing book, so I'm halfway through that. Yeah, whatever.
And he, at the same time, on, I think, Harry Cole's fake YouTube show, I think he said he doesn't have a favourite book. So, if Keir Starmer has ever read anything other than Beyond the Sea by Melissa Bailey and Franz Kafka's The Trial, we do not know.
How about he reads fucking George Orwell's Animal Farm? That could teach him a thing or two.
He'll have read loads of books, but he thinks that Harry Cole's audience will think books are woke, so he doesn't have to say he's read any books at all.
Well, this is one for the real Politik audience. Go and watch the Harry Cole, The Sun, never mind the ballots interview with Keir Starmer on YouTube, and watch how many times he asks him how many women he's slept with, and just watch out for the way that Keir responds, and maybe, I don't know, it seems like maybe he was telling him who's the boss, you know?
And didn't The Sun endorse him shortly after that?
Yeah, shortly thereafter, The Sun endorsed him.
Just a random sequence of unconnected events. So yeah, with farming, is there like a racial element? Do they think that black farmers are going to steal their farms like in Zimbabwe?
Black rock farmers.
Yeah, well, that's why they don't like Black Rock. That's why they've singled out Black Rock as the one evil corporation they hate.
I know certainly in the US there's this dynamic where, like, we talk about farmers. Everybody in America thinks farmers are great. It's the ideal, you know, own a piece of land and raise crops and what have you. But yeah, it's all corporate owned these days. The actual people doing the farming are not the farmers. They're the undocumented migrants and other unfortunate folks that so it's a highly racialized and class related thing, at least in this country. I assume it's similar in the UK.
A decent percentage of like the very lowest paid, most physically grueling jobs in the country are casual farm labourers, particularly like fruit picking and stuff like that. They recruit seasonally, they pay people dirt, so it tends to be...
And it's undocumented migrants a lot of the time. It's trafficked people.
It tends to be teenagers in their first job and freshly able to work migrants, people who've had successful asylum claims. But, like I say, where people trafficking happens in the UK, a lot of those people end up working on farms. You see,
and that's why the immigration policy will never succeed, because the British economy is entirely contingent on this class of workers.
Well, you mean Starmer smashing the criminal gangs? It's not reaction. It's not reactionary, guys. It's not a Donald Trump style anti-immigrant policy.
It's because lazy pig white English wouldn't get out of their bed to go pick fruit.
I know I wouldn't.
On the wages on
I wouldn't.
Right not to. Like, I mean, do you remember fairly early in COVID, the COVID lockdowns, when everyone started freaking out, like, hang on, the farming industry's going to be fucked with people not able to work or not taking that job. So they were like, oh, we're going to link up with the government, we're going to put up big adverts, we're going to really have a recruitment campaign here to get this important work doing. Like, okay, great. Are you going to pay people a little bit more or give them slightly better working conditions? No. So it didn't work.
Hell no, dog. Fuck that.
And there were food shortages everywhere.
If you were meaningfully trying to stop...
Like humans with actual dignity would collapse the system as is without wider change.
If you were meaningfully trying to curtail immigration to this country from... If I'm Keir Starmer, and I'm talking about shagging the gangs constantly...
You're Keir Starmer? Oh my god. Oh my god.
He's infiltrated.
Right into a fucking parlour.
Then... to curtail immigration and trafficking of people, I would also need to go after the people who are hiring what is essentially slave labour.
Yeah.
And all of these people support, and all of these larger moneyed interests support Keir Starmer.
Yep.
So it will always just be a case of them trying to send France some money to shoot dead a couple of, people who get people on the boats. And it will never work, because the root, the actual saw, will never ever be addressed.
All I heard there was you like criminal gangs and think they're nice. That's all I can hear there, because why would you not want to? Smash the criminal gangs. They're bad.
We need to shag the gangs.
Hoisted on your own.
It genuinely... Smash the gangs is one of the worst political slogans, maybe the worst political slogan in the history of political sloganeering, I think. I really can't think of a worse example than smash the gangs. And I bet you anything Morgan McSweeney came up with that.
Smash the gangs right up the pussy.
Do you remember, like...
Smash that ass.
For quite a while before the election and during the general election campaign, loads of like local Labour parties were running "Take Back Our Streets" as one of their campaign pledges. One of the first ones was actually up here in Glasgow, and there's not The city's got its problems, but it's not a city where you're at risk of being a victim of street crime, really.
My new slogan, suck our streets dicks.
I've never had any hassle here in a decade, but, it was not somewhere even within that wider context of Glasgow that has, a crime problem. And the local party put out, here's our cringe videos, our 6 pledges or whatever for the local area, and it was all we're going to deal with potholes, we're going to try and get local investment to the area, we're going to take back our streets, and then some other bland shit. And
it's you, Geraint.
Take back the streets from who? And they just blanked everyone. They were
it's you, Geraint. You Welsh immigrants. You bring drugs. You bring crime. I mean, some of you are good people.
I guess. Then you realise that when the general election started gearing up, loads of other parties around the UK were using that same line. I think Starmer used it at one point. Take back our streets.
It's a chapter title in the manifesto. It's a chapter title in the manifesto. Take back our streets. It literally says that, and the reason that I know that is because when those Nazi riots happened, that's what they were chanting. That's what they were organising under. And you press Control F on the Labour manifesto, and it's right there. Take back our streets.
Was that the chapter where they simplified their convoluted policy offer by dropping the tough on the causes of crime part of the equation?
I believe it was. Yeah, I believe it was. I've got it here. Where their 5-point plan here: crack down on antisocial behaviour, tough new penalties for offenders, a plan to get knives off the street. A specialist rape unit in every police force. Well, they've already got enough. A new network of young futures hubs. Yeah. What is a young futures hub?
And
it's just all this sure start
is
bullshit.
Legal now. War crimes are fine. So wait, anyway, you're from the north. That's Wes Streeting's constituency, right? He's in the north and Gates is in the south. In this nation.
The north.
Yeah, got it. Sorry. I was going to say a second ago, do you think that the farmers' protests right now are the new fox hunting protests? It's the same kind of vibe, same kind of demographic. Wasn't it a fox hunting protest where Prescott punched a guy?
I think they'll find more sympathisers than fox hunting.
Yeah.
Because they can just be like, by gum, I'm just a ruddy farmer. What? Oh, don't come for me. Whereas fox hunters, they just have to be out there and say, I fucking love killing foxes. I fucking love killing foxes. Don't you love fucking killing foxes? And that is less palatable to people, I think.
Slightly better optics, isn't it?
Yeah. And they always kind of were very posh coded as well. I mean, not just coded.
Yeah.
But, it was just very fucking obvious, the class composition.
But there was a lot of that. There was a lot of that at the farmers' protest. There was a lot of barber jackets, a lot of wax jackets. That nervous boy in the pub singing that song. That Kinky Boots parody, whatever it is, he looks incredibly nervous. These people just look like cosplay farmers. No one in their 20s, regardless if you're a farmhand or not, dresses in a waxed barber jacket with a flat cap. If you're in your 20s dressing like that, every single person will say, "What are you doing, you stupid twat?" No one would stomach that.
90% of the people I've met that dress like that were card carrying members of the Scottish Conservative and Unionist Party.
Starmer
worse people than you would expect from that sentence I just said.
Starmer got a barber jacket. Anyway.
I haven't seen him in one.
Really interesting.
There was a piece in the Guardian about.
He's probably got several that he was given for free. But
complimentary.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's not going to turn down a freebie even if it doesn't really fit him.
There was a piece in the Guardian about him wearing Stone Island the other day. Well, not just him. It said Stone Island is a religion. And
Which
Stoney
one?
has been worn by everyone from Drake to Keir Starmer. And
that wide
the little
range
picture,
of Israeli intelligence assets.
It's Liam Gallagher, bad gin, Drake, bad gin, Spike Lee, bad gin, and Keir Starmer, and he's squinting like fucking easy. He is in his Stone Island.
What a collection of people. Honestly. Fucking hell. Spike and Arkid LG. Starmer being like, well, I like to do the right thing, but I think that driving Miss Daisy still deserves the Oscar. That's real Oscar gold.
But you can conceive of Labour cabinet, one of them at least is going to start wearing a barber jacket. Farage was at that protest looking like an absolute joke. And Keir Starmer, his thing hitherto has just been dress and act like Gary Neville, basically.
Yeah.
But he will need to lean towards more the dress and act like Jeremy Clarkson angle at some point, just to save face. Obviously, he's going to back down on this farmer bullshit at some point, because that's what they do about everything.
Yeah, and it sounds like it would actually be a good policy, so we can't have that, right?
Another part of the Keir Starmer super football fan story that doesn't make sense. This man is supposedly a die-hard, lifelong Arsenal fan who went in the 80s when tickets cost £3 and it smelt of horse manure.
And burgers.
Yeah. One or the other would be weird, but the combination of the two was
allegedly at Highbury the same day as Osama bin Laden.
Coincidence? I think not. Well, speaking of horses, wasn't our good friend Horse telling us that Starmer, in fact, has an extensive farming background? That's
what he said. He said his first job was on a farm. He loves I love farmers. He says his first job was on a farm. It needs scrutinising this quite significantly, I think, because I have always called Keir Starmer a donkey farmer because he owned a donkey sanctuary. My mum and dad love donkeys, you know.
Yeah, he's Rodney Basad donkey.
Yeah, of course. And people would always respond to me saying, well, he didn't actually have that when he was a kid. It's actually a field adjoined to his childhood home, Pebble Dash Semi. Ford Cortina outside, and he only bought it after he was successful as a prosecutor for his mum.
Oh.
There is one article about a guy.
Dude, should I go and check this out? It's probably like 10 minutes away from my house.
To be fair, I've looked at it on Google Maps a few times. It is also 10 minutes away from a Masonic lodge.
It all adds up. We've got
controversial podcaster threatens to storm Starmer territory.
We've got the UK Scientology base in one of the neighbouring towns as well.
Oh, brilliant.
And a big opulent Mormon temple somewhere.
In Surrey? Is it Surrey?
Yeah, Surrey. I guess everyone's just got money to spunk on stupid religions and shit.
All the mad religious cunts in your country there.
Yeah. They did some early MK Ultra stuff there, didn't they?
Oh, did they? Yeah, that's where I came from. That's why I like the Grateful Dead so much.
I think Jack got like this.
Yeah. The fucking.
We'll give Jack and only Jack the good weed.
Yeah, me and Juliet were taken in. We both came out Marxist, but she came out basically okay. I suffered all the adverse consequences from the acid tests. But I was going to say, so fucking Jeremy Clarkson is like the keynote speaker at the rallies. Didn't they banned Farage from speaking at the farmer protests, even though he's like the most that you can.
Well, he's not a farmer. By no metric is he a farmer.
Jeremy Clarkson is technically a farmer. He's a farmer.
Yeah, he's on paper a farmer.
Yeah, but we're talking about how a lot of these farmers are basically,
a lot of the time.
They're just hobbyists.
He plays one on TV.
Yeah, he bragged a lot of the time that he was buying the farm as a sensible tax measure. He was basically cartoonishly winking as he said it. And someone asked him about this, and he was like, "How dare you?"
Victoria Derbyshire.
BBC, and it's your words.
Yeah.
From your paid column.
And he has since walked it back entirely, said that he didn't actually buy it for inheritance tax, he did it because he loves farming.
Well, you don't have to actually do any farming to be a farmer, it's just about owning land.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing, is that the popular understanding of a farmer is effectively a farmhand.
Yeah.
But, the farmers, they're never fucking there, they got their fucking feet up inside. They don't give a shit. It's like buying a painting. It's storing money in something.
Apart from in Ilford, where everyone, including the farmers, milks the cows themselves. Milks their personal cow.
Yeah. Is Ilford rural?
In the Gapecast it is.
Culturally.
In spirit.
Yeah, in Gapecast, Ilford has, a more urban and a more rural part.
That's not what my understanding of Ilford was.
Whatever the story demands, Ilford has a rainforest, but Gape's destroyed most of it to put on his Gape Fest. But, Clarkson has had his own kind of journey with Starmer, hasn't he? Because he went from in 2020 he was like, I like what he's done. He's got the Labour Party back on track after bloody Corbyn, and then within a year he was like, he's a communist. He's gonna put me in prison for telling. He said no.
He's go on.
The quote was something like, under Starmer we won't be able to enjoy the jokes we all laughed at in the 1970s.
I laughed at many jokes in the 70s.
Clarkson was a big anti-Corbyn guy. I remember he did that video where he fucked up his glasses and he put them on wrong and he acted like he pretended to be Corbyn.
So I'll be
he was just talking shite about him.
Pogrom, Jeremy. That's he was in that video. I'll have to leave the country if Jeremy Corbyn gets it.
But with Starmer, it is a markedly different tone because he knows that they are occupying the same space. At the farmer protest, he's literally repeating, please rethink this, please reconsider. You know, if it was Corbyn, he'd be calling for him to be shot.
Yeah. Please rethink this is very much kind of like, that's the strongest criticism Starmer will make of like Israel.
The harshest I've seen, Clarkson did an article or interview or something in the Times, and he said Starmer is a nightmare for farmers because he doesn't even eat meat.
Which
farms clearly don't make any plans.
He does eat meat. He loves fish and chips. He's always eating fish and chips, even though he claims that he's a vegetarian.
Anyway, farmers make milk and shit as well, don't they? So it's just nonsense, just bullshit, you fucking idiot.
And Starmer also went to a curry house.
They weren't vegetarian curries.
Yeah, were they? Fuck. They were fucking prawn cocktail, fucking shrimp, boona. He was having it all. And when he went to the curry house last year, I think, they said that he had a chicken curry. So obviously he just keeps up this vegetarian shit to keep all the fucking Dowie Street hogs at bay. Oh yeah, I'm a vegetarian too. Is he fuck?
Probably has like a vegetarian Sunday or something, you know, a slight reduction in the meat eat.
Yeah.
I'll just tell everyone I'm a vegetarian.
Yeah, with him it's just all like...
never got in trouble for doing that.
It's like, oh, I'm vegetarian, I like football, I'm happily married. You can't trust a word that comes out of this man's mouth. These are two headlines from Jeremy Clarkson, separated by about 1 year. The first is in 2020, the second, I think, 2021. Lifelong Tory voter Jeremy Clarkson says he could back Labour at next general election as he slams talking teddy bear Boris Johnson over the Conservatives' handling of coronavirus. Former Top Gear host said he would consider supporting Keir Starmer, slammed Boris Johnson for his not particularly good handling of pandemic, which, as I recall, was about as strongly as Starmer criticised him for that as well.
That's not fair. Starmer also said we should keep the zoos open.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Then in this was 2023, so 3 years later, Jeremy Clarkson, Labour under Sir Keir Starmer would oppress the majority, and that really frightens me. And then that's so cucked, isn't it? It's like, this is supposed to be like, oh, I'm just a lad, I'm not frightened of anything, I'm a tough guy, but it's just like, no, I'm scared of Keir Starmer as a right-wing land-owning man in my 60s or whatever. But then the subheading of this is so much better than the headline. All of the jokes we laughed at in the 70s will become illegal.
All of them.
I mean,
some of those jokes were illegal at the time.
Yeah, I know.
It's a funny subheading, but I've been reliably informed that Bill Oddie has been indefinitely detained since very shortly after Starmer took power. We'll never see daylight again.
And like curry and chips in the melting pot, it's like they weren't.
No, Bill Oddie's still alive. That joke's fine.
Okay, good. But like curry, but like curry and chips in the melting pot, they weren't illegal in the 70s. They were just considered too racist even for a mainstream audience in Britain at the time.
Yeah.
They were just cancelled, not in the modern sense, in the television sense.
They want all the old nightclub comics, the old smoky fucking backroom comics.
Oh, Jim Davidson's
like
still
Bernard
going.
Manning.
Yeah, Jim Davidson. Jim Davidson's got his own streaming service. Me and Geraint went through all its programming. It was some wild.
I've seen Jim Davidson. Jim Davidson was always on GB News on Dan Wootton's show before Dan Wootton got knocked off. They are great pals. They want all of that. They want the fucking Roy Chubby Brown, Bernard Manning. They want that not only to be legal, but to be successful and widely acclaimed. They want that to be. They want that to be like Michael McIntyre on the BBC. They want that there Saturday night, rather than with most of these comics, most of these old racist men. You have to buy their DVDs literally at like an off license,
or subscribe to their streaming service.
Yeah, I mean Jim Davidson is ahead of the curve on that.
Yeah.
It's all made out like, oh, all these comedians I used to love, they've been cancelled now, and actually they haven't really. Most of them were still doing all right in terms of live shows like 5-10 years ago.
They've lost
the energy for it. they're losing slowly and steadily their audience as they literally die off because their act isn't appealing to like young people.
I mean, you see Christopher Biggins on GB News talking about being cancelled. Christopher Biggins. No,
people just don't like you, mate.
No, no one ever liked Christopher Biggins.
I thought Biggins was like a fictitious World War II plane driver from old British comics.
Plane driver,
plane pilot, whatever. Who gives a fuck? You know, some imperialist British Army dog. Even in World War II, British Army unacceptable.
Just out taking my plane for a spin, driving my plane. Oh no, I've hit the World Trade Center. Oh dear, bad driving.
Driving my boat, the Titanic, right into an iceberg. But no, Clarkson. I almost said Clapton. No, Clapton's got to have the good sense to stay away from his fucking protest.
We're not having this argument again.
Yeah, his politics are too good. He doesn't support the farmers. Eric Clapton says the farmers.
I bet you he does support those farmers. I bet you that is a precisely Clapton issue.
It's a direct quote from Eric Clapton. I hope the farmers starve and die. There you go. He's a good guy. Leave him alone.
Would you let him babysit your son?
Well, I don't live in that high of a building anyway, so it's like it's academic. But no, Clarkson is not.
You also don't have a son.
No, because as EYUP says, this is a father and son operation, and I'm the son. I think.
Yeah, that's genuinely what I assume.
Clarkson is not the only big star on the bill at these protests. You have also got long-time Real Politik favourite Tim Farron turning up to show his solidarity with the farmers. Because I assume, like, if Bill Gates and Soros and BlackRock and all these people get control of the family farms of Britain, then that water's
going to be full of chemicals.
Oh, they're gonna pump it in there on an industrial scale. The frogs are just going to be having just rampant anal orgies.
Not just the frogs,
just be farming fluoride.
Like, you ever noticed the amount of algae on our bodies of water here? Like, it's in the name. Like, fucking gay.
Oh my god. The plot thickens. Like some
wake up, sheeple.
Juicy cum.
I didn't know that Tim Farron's from Preston. I would try to find out what he's. I remember in the 2017 debates, he was doing some George Formby shit. You know, he was trying to do the. He was trying to do the Cleggmania thing, but be like colloquial and northern. He was like, "Oh, check outside when you go make a cuppa. See if Theresa May's outside your window because she's not here tonight."
Why don't you test the water while you're at it? Just make sure it's nice and pure.
And it's just a historically bad election result.
Yeah. He just got asked.
Just awful.
He just got asked constantly, like, whether he thought gay sex was a sin. It's like one of the greatest campaigns in British history.
I mean, fair play. Well, not fair play to Tim Farron, but it's a trap question, isn't it? Is gay sex a sin? Well, there's an objective answer to that.
Yeah.
Do you think that gay sex is a sin? Well, I think that objectively, yes. But he should have just said, fuck it, I'm not religious anymore. I've decided against it. And I'm all for gay. And he probably would have got 3, 4, 5% more.
Push got me feeling like the gay Tim Farron.
There was this amazing thing during that election where, like, all the Lib Dems would get really angry at people. I say people, I mean me, who would, like, constantly share the fish and frogs line and be like, this guy's a mad old homophobe and stuff, the crank. And be like, you're persecuting him for his religion, you know, he's clearly said. He hadn't clearly said it at all, but he sort of intimated that he'd put his views aside for that, and people were making assumptions about his views, and it's disgraceful bigotry. And they were mass reporting my tweets. There were people finding tweets of mine from like 5 or 6 years before the fact, getting me like briefly locked out, made to delete them and stuff. I think probably mass reporting from them played a part in that wave of bans, the Joe Swinson squirrel thing that briefly took my account off for a couple of weeks. But as soon as he stepped down as leader, one of the first things he did within like a week or so of not being leader anymore, he's like, guess what? I actually don't believe homosexuality is okay at all. I was lying all along.
He went on like
the one
Christian
sincere
radio.
belief that most Lib Dems have is being
the liberal part. He went on like God FM, like Jesus XM or something. It's just like, guys, like, you really picked the right audience to drop the bombshell.
When Tim Farron was on about the fish and the frogs, the hidden part in that tweet is that he uses the word sexual disorientation.
Yeah.
Imagine how bigoted you have to be to write something like that.
Well, it's just like, again, South Park is our compass here. It's just like the episode where Butter's dad thinks that he's bi-curious because Cartman put his penis in Butter's mouth. And they keep saying, like, are you feeling confused, my son? And he's just like, yes! So, disoriented.
Like,
am I correct in thinking that Tim Farron said that he didn't send that tweet? He said that he was hacked.
He claimed he was hacked.
What's the Paul Mason quote? Like,
the press said, like, at the time, like, Tim Farron claimed in a statement that he was hacked and will provide. They didn't all elaborate, but some of them said, because it's clearly been briefed to them, that he will produce proof of this in due time. He never did, but no one in the press followed up on it. And it's really obviously him, and it became more and more obvious over time that it was really obviously him, because he'd keep getting in these shitty semi-controversies about his Christian beliefs on homosexuality. It was really obvious that he was just, I don't know, let's say high on Jesus on particular night, and tweeted something really stupid that he either meant for like a private account or
well, I mean, Tim Farron is like a stereotype of someone with some skeletons in the closet.
Yeah. So yeah, he's basically. So I think the Starmer, not the Starmers, but the farmers do seem to be basically onto something about Starmer. He's kind of an evil guy. And he wants to sell the country off to BlackRock and Bill Gates. I'm not gonna...
Right for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that's wrong, but it's kind of like how Donald Trump beat the Democrats, because at least he'll acknowledge that something's wrong. And, he's not got the right prescription, but his diagnosis, rings true in a few areas. And it's kind of like that with the farmers. They've alighted on a fundamental truth of our society, which is that Keir Starmer's a massive cunt and fuck off.
There's a very clear attempt to manoeuvre this into something like what happened in the Netherlands.
An anti-Semitic pogrom.
Exactly.
all the farmers protest there that got rid of Mark Rutte. Yeah. And I don't think it will be half as successful at all. But if that follows through, then Keir Starmer will be the next Secretary General of NATO.
That sounds right. He's proven his loyalty, hasn't he?
My theory for why Mandelson was so vehemently anti-Brexit for a while and then now he's just fine with it is because there was a lot of talk of making him European Commissioner for a while, wasn't there? Maybe not European Commissioner specifically, but the European President of some bullshit. And can you imagine a Mandelson's Europe?
Fucking hell. Well,
good lord.
Well, the thing is, like, when the pro-EU, anti-Brexit, referendum types were out there with their face morph of Farage and Putin, or Corbyn or Putin, or basically anyone they don't like being Putin, holding up the placards at the referendum. There was a lot of, like, some of their left-wing critics would say, come on, you guys aren't even the ones losing out from Brexit. You're not going to financially suffer because of this. It's the poorest. And, again, there's an element of truth to it, in that these people are, like, the most appalling, cosseted, middle-class pieces of shit ever to, like, form a political protest movement, like, probably in history. But at the same time, if you have, like, financial interests across borders, like, say you're Peter Mandelson, you're somebody, let's say, as corrupt as Peter Mandelson, you do kind of need free movement of capital across borders. Yeah. So you did stand to lose quite a bit from Brexit.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. In fact, I tried to make that point in 2021, but FFF cut across me. So 3 years later, I have finally finished making a point
you got the last word
I started making on last week's bonus episode recorded 3 years ago.
There's a lot of, in Britain, a lot of fetishization of these specific occupations. During Brexit, it was the fisherman.
Oh, yeah.
our noble fishermen, our gorgeous fishermen.
Because UKIP made Mike Hookham Minister for Fisheries after he punched out that, for one black guy in UKIP.
Because an absurd amount of the European referendum was spent on talking about European fucking fisheries, and now no one cares about that.
Yeah.
So obviously with the farmers, which is the exact same thing, it's just a wedge to try and get rid of Keir Starmer. They try to see what fits, really.
Yeah.
I guess the end game for this nexus of interests is to get some kind of government with Farage, sort of a coalition kind of thing. Maybe not an explicit thing. Perhaps Farage moves to the Conservatives or something like that. Just someone who is very clearly, a cheap date.
It is. I think it's the only way. Like, Cameronism is not going to have a comeback in the Conservative Party.
No way.
They've got to move closer to Farage to survive.
But this is also where Jeremy Clarkson struggles, because Jeremy Clarkson is friends with David Cameron.
And Alex James.
He is very much indeed. Indeed. Identical politics.
Yeah, just as good at making
Cameronite.
Music.
and the Jeremy Clarksons of this country, although they might capitulate to the more right angles, they look down the nose at them a bit.
Yeah.
They certainly look down the nose at Nigel Farage, even though he is just as odious as them. He's just it's a different presentation style.
Yeah.
And I assume that the next few years are basically defined by the ultimate death of Cameronism.
yeah, because its current champion is the leader of the Labour Party.
Yeah, very much so. Very, very much so. And I think ultimately they just crown Nigel Farage king of the world, and things are terrible, and it's a disaster, and maybe he just dies. But I feel like it's an inevitability.
Wait,
it is written in the stars.
Starmer dies.
Well, Farage. I mean,
okay.
Starmer.
Death
Starmer.
is an inevitability in itself, Jack. Sorry to break it to you this way, but
What? What are you telling me?
Starmer will be the midwife of British fascism.
Yes, indeed. Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah, and he's already doing a pretty good job of setting in motion this chain of events, because he's polling really badly at the moment. And of course you have Neckbeard Tyrone and, Oscar Quiet. Otto, that's it, not Oscar. Otto the nice quiet, all saying, well, Starmer's actually playing a blinder. If you were pursuing the transformative agenda that Starmer was pursuing, you'd expect to be unpopular now. And I think when he sees that his personal ratings are completely cratering, or the party is polling under the Conservatives, he probably thinks, good, I'm doing really well.
The motto of the Kamala campaign.
Yeah.
I love those fake accounts on Twitter. They're usually verified, and every day they just tweet something like, Keir Starmer is the most influential leader of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Keir Starmer is the most consequential Prime Minister I have ever seen in my life. And it's just so clearly bollocks.
Yeah.
Nobody is looking at this and thinking that. Nobody, even his most vehement supporters, are thinking, maybe you could be not just constantly on holiday, not just constantly humiliating yourself, but, clearly they've got some little office in Morgan McSweeney's house where they have people doing AstroTurf for Starmerism, and it is hilarious.
It's so funny, or maybe that's what the Israeli guy is doing. Because, Israel are good at some stuff, like murdering innocent people, but they're not really good at, not coming off like complete freaks. So, if you put an Israeli in charge of your internet presence, it's going to be, really unconvincing. It's not going to sound like human language.
I just know that it's going to be something incredibly trivial that finishes Starmer off, I feel.
Yeah.
I just feel like with the COVID parties with Boris, obviously that was manufactured quite a bit by the media.
Yeah.
At least they sat on it and chose when to report on it.
And they ignored Starmer's beer and curry parties.
Yeah, this is exactly what I mean. And that's why they probably put those beer and curry things as far as they can, because it is completely arbitrary. The media decides that something is a cardinal sin, and then that person needs to be destroyed for it, that political figure. And it's like the COVID party thing with Boris. It's like, that's bad. I guess it is emblematic of part of the issues with that administration, but to me that is not even 1% as bad as the things that Keir Starmer does every week.
Yeah.
Keir Starmer said Israel had a right to do something that is now the impetus behind an international arrest warrant for the Israeli Prime Minister.
Yeah.
He at the time, endorsed the commission of a war crime.
Have you got any updates on that, by the way? Has Starmer himself, not his fucking anonymous spokesperson, said that he will be Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant will be arrested if they set fire?
Absolutely not. And even when
hasn't passed his desk yet.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he's again just on holiday. He might say, "Oh, I'm going to fucking G20. I'm going to NATO, whatever." He's just constantly abroad. You don't have to do that. Yeah. He can send a delegate for one, but in the time that he'll get in front of a camera, he will just make some mealy-mouthed bullshit saying, "I back the court." But you'll never get into the specifics of it. I mean, Justin Trudeau did it pretty much immediately. He was also another odious simpleton. But he has more metal than Keir Starmer does. Keir Starmer will leave it to the last minute and then say the most insufficient thing possible.
I think some people actually like Trudeau. He has some sort of constituency. Maybe it's dwindling somewhat, but there was this little... there was originally some enthusiasm when he got in, so you would assume that maybe a little bit of that is left, whereas with Starmer, there was never any.
Starmer's election was a concession.
Yeah, it was like there was time for a changing of the guards.
I genuinely think that when they initially started talking about the arrest warrants and Keir Starmer said that he backs the court, I genuinely think it came down to, for him, the fact that his great pal Amal Clooney advised on that, as far as I'm aware.
She's a real person. She's actually human. He's met her. He's spoken to her. And she didn't cry about her autistic son being deported to America and killing himself. She didn't do any embarrassing shit like that, so he was, like, very impressive.
She was also the cornerstone of 2020 to 2022, where Keir Starmer would intermittently say that he went drinking with George Clooney once.
Well, ask him why his films
that was his
fucking years. What happened after Hail Caesar?
Because he met Keir Starmer.
Yeah, that's it. It's just that art.
It's where his soul goes to die.
Attitude. Yeah, exactly. Just turn into David Zaslav if you're some kind of filmmaker and you end up mates with Starmer. But you've got the big news today, which is that we're all going off to the Middle East, aren't we? We're all packing up sticks and joining the IDF.
Yeah.
Are you guys happy about this? Are you infused? Are you ready to go and commit the worst war crimes imaginable?
I've already...
You'll be fine, Gaia. Don't worry. Sorry, Ryan.
I've already got on the blower to Jeff Samuels, seeing if I can get his spare room on Airbnb, somewhere to stay while they train me.
I'd like to clarify that I only mean Yaya will be fine because he's American and not subject to British conscription. I obviously didn't mean it as in you'll be fine because you're Jewish, because they'd be even more likely to conscript you because of that.
Yeah. Had to fill out paperwork to avoid that.
Yeah.
There's also the risk that they could just let you get killed or maybe even just blow you up and say, oh, wow, look, we've been attacked.
Yeah. Oh, no.
It's the third Holocaust.
The game is to say that you would prefer to go and fight in Ukraine, and then if they try and get people to go and fight in Ukraine, be like, no, I'm not going to Ukraine until the hostages are freed over it,
I can't go and fight in Ukraine. I'm only 30. I'm not old enough.
Yeah.
It's like the US presidency. You've got to have, more than 50% grey hairs showing to sign up for the Ukrainian military.
But on the subject of whether British people have to die defending Israel in war with Iran, says UK envoy to Tel Aviv, I say no, and we shouldn't do that. No. That's not good.
That's a bad idea. And
I won't do that. And if they try to make me, I'll be doing some funny stuff with those grenades.
Can you still get out of the military by pretending to be gay? Is that still... I know it worked in the 60s. Or can you just do an offensive impression of a disabled person? That was... I think they all... In the 60s, people who got drafted, they used to try and do both just to have all bases covered.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that our podcast effectively disqualifies us from any military service.
I would hope so.
I'm sure they have a gay cavalry
that's the only
now.
reason I've been doing it. I'm quite right-wing in real life.
And on podcast. So the actual quote from the ambassador. The UK's ambassador to Israel, there we go, speaking to Israeli journalists, said, "The United Kingdom will be a close ally and is prepared to put its own aircraft and its own personnel in harm's way to defend Israel." And he revealed that although we kind of knew this anyway because the denotices aren't entirely effective, that British forces have already been actively involved in military operations supporting Israel, noting that the Royal Air Force, sorry, I almost said Royal Albert Hall, still got that Dylan gig on the brain, flew alongside Israeli and US pilots during Iran's missile and drone attack in April, Without going into detail, on October the 1st, the British Armed Forces again played a role in trying to disrupt the Iranian attack on Israel. So Britain is still deep in this war, and Starmer should have an arrest warrant out for him as well.
We've known since the beginning, I think, that US and British special forces, at least intelligence, were on the ground there, because we've heard reports from people there. I mean, Joe Biden famously accidentally uploaded a picture where he was shaking hands with all those uncensored US special forces people who were ostensibly in Israel.
Whoops.
And
Brilliant.
Matt Kinnard's reporting on the effectively daily flights assisting the IDF in many ways. I would assume that, given that the entire British commentariat, the entire British media has agreed to the D notice, that I would assume things are much, much worse than we have any conceivable idea. I would assume that, given the presence of British intelligence, given the presence of American intelligence, the presence of British and American intelligence has been reported in the New York Times as well. So it's a verifiable fact, despite what the British media will tell you. I would assume that they have been doing those flights and helping them with the coordinates of all these
certain
terrible
babies and
and Sinwar and whoever else. They don't care how many people die at all. Obviously, it's Israel, and they'll murder literally. The numbers are 70% women and children, and Britain is materially supporting, if not providing the entire basis for that with America.
Yeah,
and now we are several months into Keir Starmer's ministry. He is aware of this. He has sanctioned this. He has allowed this to continue. He has allowed this to happen. What do you say when the arrest warrant has been issued for Benjamin Netanyahu and Security Minister, the Defence Minister?
well, and they...
What do you say to someone who actively aided that when they were in power, and before that went on every TV station saying this is good and we should go further?
100%. Like, now the government, they're hinting, to use the words of, I think, The Guardian, they're hinting that they would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he set foot on British soil. But at the same time, they're making clear that the PM wants to continue to deal with the Israeli PM over issues including pushing for ceasefire and trade tech matters. That's Lee Harpin's words, but tech matters. They're going to keep working with the Israeli startups. Don't worry, guys.
But think about that, like, they are, through a spokesperson or through someone else, they're briefing Lee Harpin, whatever, they are hinting that they might abide by an international arrest warrant by the ICC, even though it's a completely hypothetical scenario.
I mean, and what exactly? He's not.
It's not going to happen. He's not going to come to the UK. He's not going to come to Europe. He's not going to go to the US. He's not going to do any of those things.
He can go to the US.
Well, the US isn't even a signatory.
Yeah, he'll be fighting in America.
Yeah,
actually.
I understand that, but there are reports that Netanyahu wouldn't risk going to the US because flying over signatory countries, they might force a landing and arrest him. Regardless of anything, it's an entirely hypothetical scenario, and he won't even attribute it to his own name.
No, exactly.
They are constantly just posting all of this nonsense about fucking respect orders, whatever else. They're just trying to flood the media with horse shit, and it doesn't work. But it becomes more inexplicable that they haven't put out any kind of statement. They won't even, with their whole chest, back the ICC.
Yeah.
How morally depraved or compromised or whatever you want to call it, how deep into that rut do you have to be? You have Politico reported with, I think the headline is, with the impending presidency of Donald Trump, can Keir Starmer save the progressive West?
I'm sure
shit like that.
I've heard him say, well, I'm a progressive. I know that he's
less bombastic about it, but he is effectively identical on the issue of Israel and many other things with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He just gives it this boring English managerialism, and because he delivers it constantly through back channels and whatever else, and when he does a media appearance, he's just always repeating some talking point that doesn't make any sense, and it never plays well at all. It has less of a cataclysmic effect than when Donald Trump says something inflammatory or something definitive.
Absolutely.
But effectively, they are identical on the issues.
Well, let's hear what his spokesperson says. When asked about the issue, Sir Keir's official spokesman says the government respected the independence of the court. He declined to say whether Mr. Netanyahu would be arrested if he arrived in the UK. So that's not confirming, is it? You can throw away the headline saying they confirm that he will be arrested. The spokesman says, "We respect the independence of the ICC, which is the primary institutional institution for investigating and prosecuting the most serious crimes in relation to international law." So, just probably what comes up if you Google what is the ICC. There's a little description. "This government has been clear that Israel has a right to defend itself in accordance with international law."
God.
Yeah. There is no
Good God.
There is no moral equivalence between Israel, a democracy, and Hamas and Lebanese Hezbollah, which are terror groups.
Whoa, what was that? Lebanese
Yeah, why do they need to
Hezbollah?
clarify Lebanon?
Whoa.
Is it because Lebanon's one of the bad countries now, so we need to make everyone aware that they should hate Lebanon?
It's
They obviously need to differentiate from the French Hezbollah.
Yeah.
Inuit Hezbollah.
It's the new all Palestinians are Hamas, all Lebanese are Hezbollah.
Yeah, but it's just again, these are just the same tired lines they've been trotting out for a year. Right to defend itself in accordance with international law, which obviously they're not going to do. Israel, democracy, not morally equivalent to Hamas and Lebanese Hezbollah, and for the millionth time, no, they're not equivalent. They are much, much worse.
Yes.
Sakir, that's what we say every time that the Labour government say that. Sakir's spokesman said, "We never comment on future international visits, but my position on the Prime Minister's support for Israel in terms of its right to defend itself in accordance with international law is very clear."
It beggars belief that we're at this. It's 13 months since October 7th. And they are speaking. No other world leader speaks like this. Apart from maybe Trump's team will put out a press release. It's significantly more interesting, but follows the same vague verbiage. They're saying the same thing. But I would love it if we had anything remotely resembling a functional press in this country, so that someone could ask Keir Starmer if he agrees with Netanyahu that it is anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
His arrest
the
warrant.
second word in Netanyahu's tweet about it. The anti-Semitic verdict by the ICC. It's so funny.
I would love to know his answer to that. But, obviously he would give some fucking non-answer bullshit. But it would be nice if someone tried to get an answer.
Some of it is talking about the institutional institution. And, he'll change the things that need changing. But not the Israel policy. That is not changing.
Yeah, if George W. Bush said that word for word, they'd be crucifying him for 20 years.
It'd be in the book of George W. Bushisms. And then, so there's a couple more bits of this. The spokesman repeatedly declined to go into hypotheticals about whether Mr. Netanyahu would be arrested if he arrived in the UK. He added, "It's not up to the Prime Minister to determine other world leaders' travel schedules." Oh yeah, that's the issue, isn't it? That Starmer, people thought that Starmer was in charge of Netanyahu's diary. They thought that Starmer was Netanyahu's personal assistant, although I kind of understand why you would get that impression. That's not what anyone thought, actually, spokesman. That's not the point. He engages and will continue to engage with the Prime Minister of Israel in support of, third time he said this, Israel's right to defend itself.
In accordance with international law.
No, he didn't say that this time. It's fine. They can kill indiscriminately.
I don't know if it was specifically the arrest warrant or what, but it was sufficient enough for the entire West to cease communications entirely with Putin when he was accused of war crimes. Keir Starmer was the first person saying that he'd committed war crimes.
He put out a statement for fire and brimstone.
Could you imagine if he had put out a statement saying, "I will continue to engage with Vladimir Putin"? It would be a non-starter.
Yeah, the saying is
Russia has a right to defend itself in accordance with international law.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's no moral equivalence between Russia, a democracy, and Ukrainian Nazis. Pressed on what he meant by his comments about the court, the spokesman said, "It means that we respect the independence of the ICC." That is exactly what they were saying when there hadn't been any verdict. They haven't changed the lines at all. "We respect the fact that the ICC is the primary international institution." So that suggests that because Starmerites speak so repetitively, that suggests that when he said institutional institution earlier, he tripped over his words. "The primary international institution for investigating and prosecuting the most serious crimes of international concern, like ASBOs, I assume. That seems to be the biggest crime on the government's agenda at the moment, making sure you slap those
respect orders.
Yeah, slap those little outs with the neo-asbos.
Smash the gangs. How about the IDF?
The biggest gang of all, am I right? Biggest criminal gang?
Yeah.
Right. Should we wrap up in a minute before we all get sent off to Israel?
Probably,
We've not got long before the plane ships out, but we've got plenty of stuff, so thank you, EYUP, for doing enough for a bonus episode with us as well. I'm
pleasure.
not sure I'll split it up yet. Just one final point, just bringing it back to the farmers to end on. I was thinking, because Neil Young and Willie Nelson, they set up Farm Aid in the 80s, the American Farm Aid. You will all recall my funny tweet about how British Farm Aid would be the most evil music festival of all time. But basically, the existent Farm Aid came about because, it would basically just be identical to those Countryside Alliance things they put on, where it would just be Brian May playing God Save the Queen and stuff. Brian May, totally rebranded himself after his pro-fox hunting era with the science stuff, didn't he? It's science is such a, I fucking love science, and definitely not a Nazi or someone who loves murdering foxes in the case of Brian May. Me and Yair already talked about Lex Fridman on the last fucking episode.
He is a specimen.
Haircut.
Yeah, a little...
He is a specimen.
Little fucker. But basically Farm Aid came about because at Live Aid in 1985, Bob Dylan came on stage quite visibly drunk and coked up with two members of the Rolling Stones. The two members were Keith Richards and Ronnie Wood, which means he was definitely drunk and coked up. So he came on and they played a pretty sloppy set, but at one point Dylan said if he could just take a little bit of his money that's going to go to Africa and give it to the starving family farmers of America, then that would be cool. It's kind of,
that is the first time I've heard an impression from you, and I'm impressed.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
That is. I mean, to sincerely,
be fair, you've had enough practice with that one. You've heard every word Bob Dylan's ever spoken.
I can do all different
it's
eras
pretty good.
Yeah.
It slinks into Lou Reed a little bit, but it's very sufficient.
Lou Reed is mine. Fuck you.
Lou Reed impressions are inherently funny, so that's a good thing to say.
Oh, that just reminded me, Jack. Em wanted me to tell you that she thinks it's amazing when you do an American accent.
Oh, thank you.
Because you sound just like some posh British guy with a little drawl.
I'm usually not putting in a great deal of effort, I don't think, on the American accent. Apart from
it's beautiful.
One. But Dylan was just it would take a little bit of the money from Africa and give it to hard-working American family farms. And a load of people fuck you, Bob Dylan, you're a racist, American exceptionalist pig, you scumbag. Bob Geldof is a great man, how dare you undermine the message of Live Aid. Have they worked out it's Christmas yet? We'll never know, thanks to your disgusting behaviour, Bob. But anyway, Neil Young and Willie Nelson heard that, and I think it was still Neil's Republican era, so they were it's a great point. so they set up Farm Aid, which continues to this day. But I thought it'd be really funny because Dylan was barely talking to the audience on this tour, apart from to introduce his band.
Yeah, wonder why.
well, he was singing. I mean, come on, he was doing the job.
Yeah.
He was standing up a little bit. He'd stand up for the first verse of a song and then just go back.
It's like Tony Bennett when you play music to people with dementia to get them back in.
No one's putting Bob out there. He's out there himself. He hasn't got a Lady Gaga figure. Anyway, the point was, I thought it'd be really funny if he came out to a mic and he was like, and you could just take just take 90% of the UK's foreign aid budget and give it to the starving family farmers of Great Britain. That would be wonderful. I'll put this John Prescott quote at the start. I've always felt very proud of Wales and being Welsh. I was born in Wales, went to school in Wales, and my mother was Welsh. I'm Welsh. It's my place of birth, my country. Wales, that is.
Doesn't fucking sound like it, does it?
Well, yeah, that was one of my weaker accents, admittedly.
He's a good man. What a shame his English shat on the floor that one time.
Well, at least compared to the current Labour leader, he had more of a appreciation for the sanctity of marriage and monogamy.
Yeah, but then most people do, don't they? I think, someone who's known for cheating on their wife,
P. Diddy.
P. Diddy. I think P. Diddy had more respect.
I don't think he's known for cheating on his wife.
Examples in the world.
I said that
maybe
before.
Does P. Diddy did he have a wife?
I have no
I think
idea.
he's in prison. He's in prison now for cheating on his wife.
Yeah,
The future that awaits Keir once he's no longer of use to the powerful people.
Well, on that note, lads, I've got to get going.
Got to go and cheat on your wife.
Keir's freedom is itself an example of two-tier Keir.
Right.
It's been a lot of fun. It was good to meet you, EYUP.
Lovely chatting. My real name is. I suppose I should say it with my real voice.
Nice.
Lovely to meet you, yeah. Lovely to speak to all of you
man.
boys.
Great.
Pleasure
great
as
to finally
always.
have you on.
Yeah,
Edit that single line of him saying his real name and charge us for like £5,000 per episode. We'll cut you in. Don't worry, we're not monsters.
New subscriber, Morgan McSweeney.